Even though it lasted only a few minutes, a small moment captured in a single selfie managed to attract major attention from BTS fans, especially when three of the members, Jimin, Suga, and Jungkook, posed together in a backstage hallway with relaxed and cheerful expressions. But the social media atmosphere shifted quickly once the photo began circulating widely and went viral due to one small detail that none of them seemed to notice at first, namely a visible luxury brand tag that appeared on the side of Suga's jacket and immediately stole the spotlight among ARMYs worldwide, including those active on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and dedicated fashion forums where fans quickly zoomed in on the image and identified that the jacket, with its warm fur detail and neutral brown tone, was not just any casual outerwear but a limited edition release from a European high fashion house, known for its selective marketing and typically worn only by top-tier celebrities or private fashion collectors, which surprised fans not because Suga wore something luxurious that's expected at their level, but because he's known for being understated and rarely draws attention to the brands he wears, making the appearance of the tag, slightly sticking out from the lower sleeve, feel unexpected and instantly a topic of conversation, especially since it was clearly visible to the camera yet seemingly unnoticed by Jimin and Jungkook when they took the photo, which led to a wave of spontaneous reactions from fans who shared zoomed-in screenshots along with detailed analyses of the jacket's collection and retail value, which turned out to be in the tens of millions of won. And because it was worn so casually without any sign of endorsement, it further elevated fans' appreciation for Suga's effortless elegance, while Jimin and Jungkook, each in their own laid-back outfits, appeared unaware of the attention-grabbing detail, a contrast that only added to the charm of the photo, sparking a series of online discussions that praised the trio for showing such authenticity and warmth despite the exclusivity of their attire, and painting a genuine picture of how BTS members live and interact in everyday settings without staging or performance. And what stood out even more was how the fan response turned this small incident into a thoughtful reflection on the members' personalities, because beyond the surprising brand reveal, the photo's most compelling feature remained the sense of closeness and unity among the three, which hasn't been seen as often lately due to their individual schedules and projects, making this candid shot a touching reminder of their enduring bond. And it soon led fans to not only focus on Suga's jacket but also appreciate the emotional value of the moment they shared, with many noting how rare it's become to see them together like this, and how this image evoked nostalgia for earlier days, while also reinforcing that their relationships remain strong and intact despite time and changing circumstances. And within this context, what began as a simple selfie transformed into a wider public discussion about their fashion choices, personal styles, and interactions that remain humble and unforced even under global scrutiny, all sparked by a single photo taken with no apparent intention, no special lighting setup, and no promotional agenda. And yet, precisely because of that naturalness, the image resonated so strongly and left a lasting impression, demonstrating that even unplanned moments can carry immense weight when they reflect sincerity, comfort, and real connection, making it clear that for many fans, the highlight wasn't just a luxury label but the quiet joy of seeing three beloved members simply being together again. As the image continued to circulate and discussions around it gained momentum, fashion-focused accounts and media outlets began to chime in, not only confirming the brand and model of Suga's jacket but also tracing its availability, pricing, and past sightings on other global celebrities, further fueling interest among fans and style watchers alike. Yet what stood out more was the narrative that unfolded among BTS fans who started to analyze the context of the selfie in greater detail, pointing out how Jimin's thumb-up pose and Jungkook's finger heart seemed to emphasize a casual, friendly reunion vibe, making Suga's luxury coat feel even more unexpected in contrast to the relaxed environment and their overall understated fashion choices. And this contrast became symbolic for many, illustrating how each member's personal expression continues to evolve while remaining grounded in the group's shared identity. And as fans replayed the story told by the photo, from the hallway setting to their natural smiles, many began posting reflections on how the three members have maintained their friendship and warmth despite time apart, mandatory service responsibilities, and growing individual commitments. And the presence of the high-end label, rather than creating distance, served as a quiet reminder of how far they've come and the kinds of circles they now move in, while still choosing to show up for each other without needing formal events or fanfare. And in various fan communities, Side-by-side comparisons started to emerge, showing other times Suga had worn similar luxury pieces discreetly, reinforcing the idea that his style has long been refined yet never loud, and that this moment was just a rare visual confirmation of something fans had always suspected, that beneath his minimalist exterior lies a strong appreciation for high craftsmanship and personal comfort. And what made the incident resonate further was how naturally it unfolded, as the selfie was not shared through an official post or accompanied by marketing language, but simply appeared in a casual story or feed, with no apparent intention to make a statement. And this organic appearance added a layer of authenticity that fans deeply valued, because in an industry often driven by curated imagery and promotional agendas, the spontaneity of such moments becomes increasingly meaningful. And it also sparked new appreciation for how Jimin and Jungkook responded visually in the photo, not with exaggerated gestures or practiced poses, but with familiar ease, as if their time together behind the scenes was just another comforting chapter in a long friendship. And this dynamic made fans feel more connected to them, as it reflected the kind of sincere human interaction that many admire BTS for. And as the buzz grew, the original post continued to gain likes, comments, and shares. Yet interestingly, the conversation didn't spiral into controversy or spectacle, but remained grounded in appreciation, curiosity, and warmth, with ARMYs expressing pride in how their idols can carry such elegance without needing to highlight it, and how the accidental exposure of a designer label became a doorway to larger conversations about taste, loyalty, and personal identity. And in the midst of all this, some stylists and fashion editors subtly acknowledged the moment in their own posts or replies, noting that understated luxury has always been a signature of Suga's presence, and that this was merely another example of how his approach to fashion continues to surprise without trying to impress. And by the end of the day, what remained in fans' minds wasn't just the value of the jacket or the rarity of the brand, but the genuine nature of the moment. Three friends meeting, smiling, and recording a memory without stage lights or public expectations. And from that image emerged a collective feeling of reassurance that despite the changes each member faces, the core of their relationship remains intact and visible, sometimes even through something as simple as a jacket's label caught on camera. As the hours passed and the photo continued to ripple through timelines, fan accounts and even a few fashion observers began collecting and reposting older images of Suga wearing similarly understated luxury pieces in past appearances, reinforcing a recurring pattern that had somehow remained subtle all this time. And this led to broader admiration for the way he navigates the public eye with quiet confidence, preferring comfort and quality over attention-grabbing trends, which in turn triggered discussions across fan forums about how differently each BTS member expresses their individual identity through fashion, with Jimin often gravitating towards soft tones and layered comfort that echo his warm, approachable energy, while Jungkook's look in the selfie, denim outer, graphic tee, slightly tousled hair, once again reflected his effortless mix of streetwear and relaxed cool, and the juxtaposition with Suga's clean, fur-trimmed coat served as a rare moment where three personal styles aligned in a single frame without clashing, instead complementing each other in a snapshot that looked more like a spontaneous reunion than a coordinated shoot. And this harmony became a talking point of its own, with fans noting how the photo felt like a candid celebration of where each of them is now. Distinct, evolving, yet still deeply connected. And for many ARMYs who have followed their journey from early years until now, this image delivered a quiet sense of comfort, a reassurance that while projects may change and public appearances may become less frequent, the foundation of their friendship remains visible in such unfiltered moments. And even the location of the selfie, what appeared to be a backstage hallway with plain walls and open doors, became symbolic of the in-between spaces where real interactions often happen, away from stage lights and scripts, where shared laughs and check-ins carry more emotional weight than any formal reunion. And soon, fans began pairing the selfie with captions about gratitude and growth, sharing stories of how BTS has influenced their own relationships and values. And although all of this stemmed from a simple photo, the emotional ripple it created underscored just how powerful unscripted moments can be when shared by people who've been through so much together. And amid this wave of reflection, media outlets began including the photo in coverage about recent BTS updates, highlighting the rare appearance of the three members together and gently noting the viral attention surrounding the brand tag, though always within a tone of admiration rather than gossip. as if the sincerity of the moment had set the tone for how it should be interpreted. And through it all, Suga, Jimin, and Jungkook remained silent on the matter, neither commenting on the fashion discovery nor reacting to the viral discussions, which only deepened the sense that none of it had been planned or intended as a statement. And perhaps that was what made it so impactful. The absence of narrative allowed fans to fill the space with their own appreciation and meaning, creating a collective memory from a simple hallway interaction. And as the selfie found its way into fan edits, quote posts, and even digital collages celebrating their friendship, it became more than just a fashion moment or a reunion photo. It became a quiet testament to how presence, consistency, and genuine connection continue to define BTS, and how even without grand gestures, their bond resonates through the most ordinary seeming situations, offering a subtle but lasting glimpse into the depth of their relationship. And for fans watching from afar, that was more than enough. By the time the evening progressed, the image had already become one of the most shared posts among BTS fan communities that day, not because of a major announcement or official appearance, but simply due to how naturally it captured a rare moment of the three members together. And, interestingly, what had started as a lighthearted conversation about a luxury label evolved into a thoughtful appreciation of their current stage in life, with fans exchanging observations on how each member has grown into his own rhythm while still showing up for one another when it matters. And within that evolving appreciation, a new wave of focus turned towards Suga's choice of outerwear, as some fans with backgrounds in fashion pointed out that the specific coat he wore was not just any limited edition release but a collector's piece known for its ethical production, artisan tailoring, and exclusive distribution, usually accessible only through private orders or personal connections with the brand itself. And this revelation didn't spark envy or spectacle but rather pride among armies who saw it as an extension of Suga's long-held values: discretion, comfort, and thoughtful selection. And as screenshots and analyses of the jacket continued to spread, many fans noted how it reflected a more mature phase in his style evolution, no longer relying on visual shock or trend alignment, but instead embracing quality and authenticity, which only added depth to the seemingly simple photo. And around this point, attention slowly returned to Jimin and Jungkook as fans noticed small, affectionate details in their expressions and body language, like how Jimin's smile carried a warmth that suggested familiarity and ease, and how Jungkook, despite being the youngest, stood with a confidence that subtly mirrored the comfort he finds among his older members. And what was initially a discovery about clothing soon morphed into a layered reflection on how these men carry themselves, not just as idols but as individuals whose shared history continues to be visible in their smallest interactions. And from there, posts started emerging that contrasted this candid selfie with older, more staged promotional photos from earlier in their careers, with fans marveling at how their bond has remained consistent even as their roles, appearances, and public personas have changed. And one particularly popular thread pointed out how rare it is for celebrities of their status to present themselves so casually, without heavy styling or strategic branding, in a world where most images are carefully curated for maximum engagement. Yet this image, taken perhaps in between rehearsals or after a quick catch-up backstage, felt refreshingly honest, and that honesty seemed to resonate especially well in the current atmosphere, where fans are increasingly drawn to sincerity over spectacle, depth over drama, and it became clear that this was more than just a viral moment. It was a point of connection, a small yet powerful reminder that the bond between these members continues to thrive off-camera, and the way that realization echoed across languages, countries, and time zones reminded everyone of the emotional fabric that ties the fandom together, not just their admiration for BTS as artists, but their affection for them as people who've walked a long journey side by side. And perhaps it was this recognition, more than the price tag or brand name, that made the image feel so significant, because it captured something beyond fashion or fame, something real and familiar, like seeing old friends reunited after a while, picking up right where they left off. And even though the moment lasted only as long as the shutter click, the feeling it sparked lingered much longer, carried in comments, retweets, fan art, and quiet reflections that turned one candid photo into a collective memory cherished not for its perfection but for its truth. As the photo continued to make its rounds and the initial buzz around the luxury label began to settle, the atmosphere in fan discussions subtly shifted toward a more sentimental tone, as many armies began expressing not just excitement over the rare gathering of Suga, Jimin, and Jungkook, but a quiet gratitude for being able to witness such an ordinary yet emotionally resonant moment. And this shift in tone could be seen in how fans started to revisit and hair the selfie not with zoom-ins or product breakdowns, but with captions that emphasize togetherness, comfort, and the natural aging of their bond. And alongside this emotional reflection, others began to piece together small background clues from the image, such as the lighting, door frames, and signage, leading to the conclusion that it had likely been taken in a rehearsal or prep space rather than a public area, which only reinforced the idea that this was never meant for wide consumption, adding another layer of intimacy to the moment. And it was that unintentional transparency that fans seem to value most. A glimpse into who the members are when they're simply being themselves around each other, without a camera crew, styling team, or promotional script guiding the way. And for longtime followers of BTS, this quiet snapshot felt like a continuation of the story they've watched unfold over the years, not one marked by dramatic plot twists or shocking reveals, but by small, sincere gestures that reflect deep and lasting connection. And fans who had been around since their early years shared reflections on how such spontaneous reunions have become increasingly rare, not out of distance or conflict, but simply because of the natural changes brought on by time, service, and solo commitments, which made the moment all the more precious. And in parallel with these emotional reflections, a few stylists and former collaborators even began engaging lightly with fan posts, sharing brief affirmations of how consistent Suga's approach to fashion has been throughout the years, choosing quality over quantity, comfort over statement, and letting his personality shine through the subtleties of his wardrobe rather than the logos on them, which prompted a renewed appreciation for the way BTS members express themselves not just through their music, but also through the smallest details of their personal presentation. And the way this quiet admiration played out across fan communities was marked by respect, calm, and a kind of emotional clarity, where fans didn't feel the need to turn the moment into a spectacle, but instead let it be what it was, a soft, candid, unscripted reminder of connection and growth. And as the image slowly became absorbed into the ongoing digital archive of BTS's history, it joined the ranks of other unplanned fan-favorite moments that hold emotional weight not because of what was said or worn, but because of what they represent. And in this case, it represented a moment of pause and presence, three members in transition, still anchored by a shared history, still finding ways to meet in the quiet spaces of their lives. And by the end of the day, as reposts began to slow and new content emerged in the usual rhythm of social media, the impact of the image had already left its mark, not as a viral hit or trending headline, but as something deeper, a visual that fans could return to in moments of nostalgia or uncertainty, knowing it would remind them not just of their idols, but of the emotional steadiness that BTS has come to represent over the years. And while the luxury tag might have been the initial spark for attention, it was the feeling of familiarity, sincerity, and timeless friendship that gave the photo its lasting value. And in the end, it quietly reaffirmed the essence of what draws people to BTS. Not only their artistry or fashion, but their ability to stay real, stay close, and continue walking together, even as the world around them keeps changing. With the moment now gently settled into the collective memory of the fandom, it became clear that what lingered wasn't the buzz around the brand or the rarity of the jacket, but the calm presence of three people simply sharing space, reminding everyone of the quiet beauty and friendships that endure without needing to perform. It was a photo that didn't shout, didn't demand attention, and yet spoke volumes about time, growth, and the kind of connection that doesn't need constant display to stay strong. For fans who have followed BTS through highs and lows, grand stages and long silences, this single candid image offered a kind of stillness that felt grounding. It reminded them that while public roles and appearances may shift, the deeper bonds often remain steady in the background, waiting to surface when least expected, through a simple smile, a relaxed pose, a visible tag, or a shared hallway. In a world constantly chasing spectacle, this soft reminder of genuine connection felt more powerful than any headline. And as the day turned quietly into night, the image remained, not as an artifact of luxury, but as a warm, unguarded moment between friends who have walked a long way together.